Welcome back, parents. Guess what? You're almost at the middle of this quest. How is it going for you? How are you feeling? If I can imagine, you must be feeling a little bit of this weird feeling about wondering when things will really change, perhaps. Perhaps your kid is acting just the same and nothing is changing. Maybe you're feeling a bit impatient. I want you to remember that we must be compassionate with ourselves. We have to take it slow. Change doesn't materialize overnight. Some of us have had our children for 5, 10 years. We can't expect to change within 10 days. Change is often a slow process. So remember, stay the course, stay true to your vision of having a close, connected relationship with your children. And if you hold that vision in your mind's eye, then no matter what the odds, you're going to try to accomplish that. And I am going to be with you. The hundreds of other parents are with you. So remember, give yourself time, give yourself space. Change doesn't happen overnight. Today, we're going to debunk one of the popular mythologies out there about love. You know, I and you, we were both conditioned to believe that a good parent is a loving one. And this is something we're going to put under scrutiny. I still remember one assumption I thought was absolutely true before I became a parent and began working with a lot of families. I assumed that if a child misbehaved, it was because they did not come from a loving home. I tended to believe that being a loving parent would serve the aim of raising a good and loving child. It took me a long time to understand how my assumption about love was not only simplistic, but it was seriously misguided. So love, you know, is one of the most undoubtedly bonding elements within humans. Love serves as the base and the foundation of our feelings, especially towards our children. It is, in fact, our predominant sentiment. It is the defining element of our connection with others, especially our children. When we talk about love, we tend to feel that warm, fuzzy feeling, the beauty and the purity, the sense of ultimate selflessness, that we would do whatever it takes for those we truly love. However, despite our love for our children, the harsh reality is that often we act towards them in ways that are anything but loving. And why does this happen? Well, have you ever wondered why sometimes hate is so common in the ones we say we love? Why sometimes the love that we have toward our children feels anything but loving toward them? They don't feel like we're loving toward them. Have you ever wondered why? Well, the reason is we sometimes forget how love that we say we have toward our children isn't actually selfless. In fact, our love is heavily tinged with our own egoic agendas. And essentially, when we're saying we love them, it's actually we love them out of a conditionality. We love them when. We love them if. And it's this kind of love that doesn't feel like love toward our children. You know, I always say that while love is an admired sentiment and it's something we all believe we hold towards our loved ones, it's actually heavily tinged with possession, with need, with dependency, with control, with a transactionality. And this inevitably leads to a distortion of that pure sentiment of love. So our feeling of love then becomes tinged with attachment. Our attachment around what we need to feel loving. You see, we dictate to our children subconsciously, even unconsciously, that if and when and only under the certain conditions that they make us feel as if we are worthy and whole and complete, when they complete our needs for feeling like we belong in a relationship, then we will express our love. This sort of transactionality towards our children makes them actually feel less than loved. It makes them feel as if they have to answer to us. And this doesn't feel loving to them. This feels as if they are beholden to us, as if they're now answerable to us. So the next time you claim to love your children, I really challenge you to ask yourself, is this love free of need? Is it free of dependency? Is it free of possession and control? And if it is, now this is true love. So I always say that there are two kinds of love. The regular love, which is filled with all our egoic agendas and needs, and then a higher level of almost a transcendent love. And that's the love we believe we have toward our children, but it's not the love we really have. You see, when we don't love consciously with this level of transcendence, then our love will continually breed fears that actually cause us to be needy, to be possessive, to be controlling. So one of the key steps toward awakening as parents is understanding how this love that we freely claim we have is really conditional, is really unconscious. And this is hard for parents to look in the mirror and admit that their love is actually self-love, that their love is actually controlling. No parent wants to admit this. In fact, the very thing we claim undyingly, righteously, is this love. So then to put this love under scrutiny takes a great amount of courage. It's every parent's desire to enter a state of conscious love toward our children. But the truth is, most of the love we have toward them is tinted with a heavily ego-based, fear-driven attachment. There is a big difference between attachment and true love. Most of the love we have toward others, most relationships are attachment-based relationships. Very few relationships, especially those toward our children, are based on true love. Now, this is a really tough pill to swallow, to really look at most of your relationships as attachment relationships versus true love. Now, this takes a lot of honesty and transparency. You see, the reason we have been unable to separate our own ego and its needs from our relationship with our children, you see, we need them to be a certain way. In fact, the reason we had children was so that we could feel better about ourselves. So in order to now move from our attachment to our need of them, to being without need of them, to being independent of them, takes a great leap of spiritual awareness and consciousness. And it is this leap that I'm challenging you to make right now. I'm asking you, can you love yourself so much? Can you consider yourself as so worthy that you don't need your children to give you worth? When you make that shift, when that needle moves within you from your own lack to your own wholeness, it is then that you release your children out of an attachment-based relationship to a truly transcendent relationship. So today, here's the challenge. Can you truly look in the mirror and be honest? See your relationship with your children, yourself, and others for the conditionality that it holds. See, accept, admit that your relationship with your children was based on attachment. And now I'm going to challenge you to move from attachment, need, possession, control, expectations, and move to a different place within you, a place of conscious love, transcendent love. Now, what is conscious love? Conscious love requires that we see the object of our love as independent of us. This means that we don't interject our well-being onto them. Instead, we are full within ourselves to such an extent that we are able to help and guide and serve their needs without the interference of our needs onto them. We do not any longer see our children as conduits for our well-being, for fulfilling our expectations. Nope, no more. We now begin to release them as being instruments of our desire, and instead we begin to see them as sovereign beings here to fulfill their own inner calling without interference, without interjection from us. So today's task is to embark on a new path of redefining the way you think you love your children. We're going to move away from the old ways of loving our children, which had a sort of transactionality. It had a two-way element to it. And we're going to move into a new state of love, which only has a one-way element to it, where you are the giver of love, no matter what comes back to you. Now, this is true love. In order to release all the conditions, all the expectations we place on them, the thing that we're going to practice today is something very practical. I'm going to give you a practical skill to practice. I want you to practice the release of all conditionality. You see, conditional love is possessive love, is love filled with expectation. And one way our conditional love shows up is through the use and the belief system of having if-then elements to our thinking and our statements. You know, if you do this, then I'll be happy with you. If you show me love, then I'll show you love back. If you're polite to me, then I'm going to love you. It's these if-then ways of thinking and believing and acting toward our children that I'm going to ask you to notice and release. So, notice how often in your mind's eye or mind's patterns you use the if-then statements, if-then attitudes and approaches toward your children. Can you begin to notice them? Can you begin to release them? As you release this conditionality, this two-way element to love, you know, you do this, I do this, it's then that we will allow ourselves to enter a pure state of love toward our children, where we find them worthy of our love and our acceptance, no matter what they do back to us. It's this that's the true challenge of a loving parent. To be a truly consciously loving parent means to release the object of our love from any condition. Now, this is true higher love. So, you know, the traditional way of being taught to be a parent told us, you just have to love your children. You just have to be loving toward them. But now we're beginning to see through the process of conscious parenting that love simply isn't always enough. In fact, sometimes love gets in the way of truly loving parenting. I always tell my parents, you know, love your children a little less. The love is the problem, because the way we're loving our children is really not the conscious way. And the way we're loving them is actually unconscious. It is filled with possession and need and dependency. So we're beginning to see that love isn't simply enough. We need other tools in our emotional toolkit, so to speak, to really create a connection with our children. So we're creating now new tools, different ways of relating to our children, removing conditionality, removing if-then elements, removing the transactional nature with our children. And we're moving toward a new, equanimous, harmonious state of loving our children. I cannot wait for you to experience what it means to truly love your children without expectation. So write about it, share your insights, and I cannot wait to see you back here tomorrow.